The Zarkax Confederation had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were weak because they had only colonized a dozen systems in the past century. They thought humans were primitive because they still used chemical rockets for some of their cargo ships. They thought humans were divided because their colonies maintained distinct cultural identities. They were wrong on all counts. When the Zarkax fleet of 300 warships descended upon New Eden, humanity's most distant colony, they expected an easy victory. What they found instead was a stubborn resistance that lasted 3 days, far longer than any of their military simulations had predicted. But in the end, New Eden fell. The Zarkax bombarded the colony's main dome from orbit, killing all 50,000 inhabitants in an instant. They thought this would teach humanity its place in the galaxy. They were wrong about that too. What the Zarkax didn't know, what none of the elder races knew, was that humans had spent the last century preparing. Every cargo ship that landed on a human world carried within its hull the seeds of war. Every colony, no matter how small, housed beneath its peaceful exterior fabrication facilities that could be converted to military production in hours. Every human child learned not just their ABCs, but also basic combat protocols and emergency procedures. Humanity remembered Earth's bloody history. They remembered every genocide, every war, every atrocity. They had vowed, never again. When news of New Eden's destruction reached Earth, there was no panic, no chaos, no desperate pleas for mercy or hasty diplomacy. Instead, in every human settlement across 12 star systems, hidden bay doors slid open. Mineral processors switched from creating building materials to manufacturing ammunition. Civilian ships transformed, revealing weapon ports and military-grade shields that had laid dormant for decades. The response came exactly 1 week after New Eden's fall. 700,000 warships jumped into existence around every known Zarkax world simultaneously. The vessels ranged from nimble corvettes to massive dreadnoughts, each one built in secret, each one crewed by volunteers who had trained for this moment their entire lives. The Zarkax Supreme Commander couldn't believe the readings. His analysts had estimated humanity's military capacity at perhaps 1,000 ships if they stripped their colonies bare. The force that now surrounded his homeworld alone numbered 50,000 vessels. "Impossible," he whispered, watching as more ships continued to materialize. Their industry couldn't possibly support this. But it had. Every human mining operation had been running at double capacity for a century, with half the output going to secret shipyards hidden in asteroid fields and gas giant rings. Every trade deal had been calculated not just for economic benefit, but for strategic resource accumulation. Every diplomatic mission had gathered intelligence on potential adversaries. Humanity had learned from its own bloody history, peace through strength. The human admiral's message was brief: "You killed our children. We warned you, in every first contact protocol, what would happen if anyone harmed our colonies. You chose not to listen. Now you will learn why every spacefaring race that encountered us chose to become our allies rather than our enemies." The battle lasted less than 6 hours. The Zarkax fought bravely, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. Their defenses, designed to repel forces of comparable size to their own fleet, crumbled under the overwhelming human assault. Their proudest warships were reduced to debris by weapons they had never seen before, technologies humans had developed in secret while pretending to rely on primitive systems. When it was over, the Zarkax Confederation surrendered unconditionally. They expected extinction. It was what they would have done in humanity's position. Instead, they received terms: full reparations for New Eden, complete military disarmament, and integration into the human defensive sphere as a protected species. They would be given a chance to learn, to grow, to become better than they had been. Because that was humanity's greatest strength, the ability to remember past horrors while still hoping for a better future. They had built the largest war fleet in known space, not because they wanted to use it, but because they never wanted to feel helpless again. As human reconstruction ships began the work of rebuilding New Eden, the message spread across the galaxy. Humanity was not weak. They were not primitive. And they were certainly not divided. They were patient. They were prepared. And they were no longer willing to watch their children die. The Zarkax learned what so many human adversaries had learned before. When humanity says never again, they mean it.